Hey everybody, it's your man James, Mr. Quinn Treasure, back again with some more video action for you. This is another one of the little bit of clips that I've made from an old live stream. This one's kind of a fun one and actually kind of and almost informative here. I talk about the crowdfunding phenomenon and why some creators are for it, why some aren't, and some of the ins and outs of what you want to do if you're going to do one so that you can make sure you're as successful as possible. I thought this is probably one of the best bits I've done in any of my live streams over the years, and I hope you guys will feel the same way when you check it out. So please do. And before we get into all that, though, I just want to say thanks for joining me today, and be sure to drop some likes down there if you like what you hear. If you got any comments on all this, please drop them down below. I always want to hear what the folks have to say out there about the stuff you're seeing here. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed, so you don't miss any of the content that's being put out around here on the regular. And if you have subscribed, please go ahead and share out some links so others can join us, especially in this case, since we're talking about something that can be of benefit not just to ourselves, but to many others. So definitely want to do that if you can, and I appreciate all your support that way. Thank you again for joining me today. I hope you get something of value out of this, because this is definitely one of the better ones I thought I've done, and I'll be back soon with some more stuff. And until then, take care.
Now, this is where it all begins. It begins with I saw this back in mid to late January. I saw Jimmy Palmiotti put this sort of tweet thread out where he was talking about this, and we're just going to go through all this here, and we're going to talk about it. He starts out here: if 3 out of every 100 people following me on Twitter backed my Kickstarters, I would never have to work on another corporate comic character for the rest of my life and only work on my own creations. Now, this is basically the whole premise of crowdfunding in and of itself. You know, it's taking the creator rights movement from like the early '90s with Image, and just taking it to the nth degree, where like you're not just creating your own stuff under a banner of another publisher. You're actually your own publisher. A lot of creators now are moving in this direction. There's a lot of great creators out there who we all grew up reading over the last 20, 30 years, who are now doing their own creations on crowdfunding sites. And here's Jimmy talking about how if people on Twitter, just 3 out of every 100 people who followed him backed his campaigns, he could just work on his own creations and never have to work for the mainstream publishers anymore, which is something that I think a lot of creators are starting to look at much more critically than they used to, because they see the success some of these people in the crowdfunding market are having. So I can't blame Jimmy for going here, and he is correct that you don't need a whole lot of people. But to me, the interesting about this post is how he notes that it's 3 of every 100 people on Twitter, which this is the thing is it's been said many times, just because people follow you on Twitter doesn't mean they're going to support you in your efforts. Going to Twitter and like clicking a little heart on a post is a lot easier than saying, oh, let me pony up some money to back you in your endeavors. Very different things. And Twitter is notorious for giving you lots of virtue signaling backpats, but little else. And I think that's exactly what he's talking about here. And as we go in here, you're going to see some of the discussion that came about from all of this from people. So we're going to get that rolling. Here's our first one from Racer X. He goes, but I really enjoy your work on corporate comic characters. So many great creators are moving away from mainstream comics. I'm happy for you all to go tell stories and make some money, but it makes me sad to lose your talents on the adventures we're already on together. To which Jimmy says, did them for 30 years, not much to show for it, still paying my own medical coverage, no loyalty to me for all the hard work. Royalties for doing over 1,000 books don't cover my med coverage for 2 months each year. What's in it for me to continue that path? And see, again, this is exactly what I just said. This is what a lot of creators are starting to come to conclusions to when they're seeing the success that some of their brethren, shall we say, have had in the crowdfunding game. Even ones that even people that they don't like having such success. And they're looking at themselves and going, they're making all this money, and here I am grinding away for a corporation that couldn't give two shits about me. And but Racer X is a perfect example of why Jimmy has that whole point of contention with how if only 3 out of every 100 backed me, because this is a lot of what's going on with the audience is they like them on the icons that we all know and love. But what they don't understand is those icons have been, sort of poisoned by identity politics and mismanagement by, the creators and the corporations that own the IPs. They're not the same anymore. Spider-Man doesn't feel like Spider-Man anymore. Batman doesn't feel like Batman anymore. Superman doesn't feel like Superman anymore. And so, we all love those characters, but we need to break ourselves of that habit, because we need to go where there are people who are creating actual entertainment and not just, political propaganda masked as entertainment. And that's what Jimmy's talking about here, is how he's put all this effort in and he sees very little, if anything, for all that work, and he wants to start seeing the rewards for his talent. And who can blame him? Here's another one, Nathan Quarry with Zombie Cage Fighter. I realize I'm creating a fan base from scratch. They don't have a childhood growing up with my story, so I have to win over every customer. It's a slow grind. Bang! This right here. This is probably like the best, post I saw in Jimmy's thread, because this really gets to the heart of the matter. These new creations that you will do through crowdfunding do not have the sort of nostalgia effect that you have with the classic icons. Like I said, Superman, Spider-Man, and Batman, and Wonder Woman, and the Hulk. You don't have any of that to work to your benefit. You grew up reading those characters. Everyone knows those characters around the world. They're beloved. You don't have that with your new creation. And now you're building a fan base from scratch, because the fan base you had working on those characters wasn't really your fan base. It was the character's fan base. And now that you're moving away from those characters and doing your own thing, most of the people are not going to come with you. Again, like you saw with like Racer X and Max Q, they don't want these guys to leave the icons they love, because that's what they want to support. I want to support these icons. I don't want to support some new project of something I don't know, of an untested quantity. And so, you have to win over customers. You have to go out and reach the buying consumer. And it is a slow grind. It's very, again, as someone, I can tell you myself, selling the art that I do for the artist, it is a tough, slow grind. You've got to build it up, and you got to keep pushing. And there'll be days you want to just shoot yourself in the head, because you're like, what am I doing? This isn't working. Why isn't this working? I'm putting in all this effort and I'm not seeing hardly any returns on it. But it is a slow grind, and that's just what you got to deal with. And this is the hesitation you see in some people, like you saw in Jimmy. This is what they understand is, you're going to have to win them over, and they're not quite sure how to do that. And in some cases, for some of these creators, I don't think they know they wouldn't be able to win them over, because of things they've been doing to the buying public for the last several years on social media, attacking them and insulting them and denigrating them. And here we go. We get into more of this. I've read 1% of your social media, from J. Hewer. I've read 1% of your social media followers actually back a Kickstarter. Do you find that accurate, Jimmy? Pretty much. And then Comics for Everyone. The conversion rate from followers to supporters is really dependable on the platform and how engaging it is. Twitter is very low effort and a low engagement one. YouTube, etc., are high effort, high engagement. 1% for Twitter sounds right. For YouTube, it is 10 to 20%. In general, it seems to be effective to use social media platforms to gather a mailing list and use that to offer people new ways to support you. If you have 1,000 regulars there, that generates buzz enough to make a campaign a hit. So Twitter might not be the end all, but a path for a list. And again, this is very solid advice. You got to put yourself out on multiple platforms. Don't just rely on one or two, multiple platforms. And especially, again, like he said, with YouTube, you got to get yourself out there. You got to talk to the people. Kind of like I'm doing with you guys right now with this live stream. You got to talk to the people. You got to get out there and put yourself out there and let them know who you are. And then you build that rapport with the audience. And they will give you their feedback, and take it humbly, and take it honestly. And and show respect for what they're giving you, and they will show you respect and back you. That's how you do it. And I liked his idea for a mailing list. That's an even better idea, to get your information out there. Because again, I've backed people on these crowdfunders, and there are some guys who do actual mailing lists. They will mail you like once a week as the campaign goes on, to keep you updated. And that's another key in crowdfunding, is communication. Keep communication lines open. There have been creators in the past, like Richard Pace and B. Clay Moore, who've had crowdfunders, and after they ended, they took the money and ran. And it's like 5, 6, 7 years since the crowdfunder ended. They still haven't fulfilled, and people have no idea what happened to their money or what's going on or anything else. That's not what you want to do. You may get, if you may get that one good lump of money there in that one crowdfunder where you burn people, but when you burn them, they're going to remember that. And then when you go to do another one, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, that's the guy that ripped me off last time." See, again, this is something you need to keep in mind. Open lines of communications. Keep people. You got to be like the Weather Channel, constant updating. Keep people informed. That's key. And a mailing list is a perfect way to do that. Again, another person. And if the rest of us were rich and or financially stable, we wouldn't have to work our shit jobs to keep the lights on either. Well, yeah, but again, if you have a choice to work a shit job or go out on your own and maybe have better prospects for yourself, what do you think you should do there, SoCal couple? What do you think you should do? You should stick it out at that shit job just because you know it's a steady paycheck, whereas if you took a risk, hey, I may end up making 10 times what I'm making now. How much more rich and financially stable would you be with 10 times what you're making at your shit job? You see, this is what I'm talking about. Now I know not everybody always has that option, but in the case of comic creators today, yes, they absolutely do. That's exactly what crowdfunding is. It's giving you the option to find a way to make a better living for yourself than you will find in the corporate mainstream industry, which basically just grinds you up and spits you out. Again, I've heard horror stories from creators about how they were treated in this industry. Even after the big creators' rights movement of the early 90s, they still get treated like crap. So I mean, do you keep working the shit job just because it's just what you know, or do you maybe at some point say enough is enough and I want better, and so I got to take a risk? Again, the corporations are very risk averse. That's part of why what they do sucks so much, is because they don't want to take those chances. But these creators can do so. Jimmy Palmiotti can do so, and I think he should. And again, just to further get it down to you, here's Brian Hitch from last year. It's a shame my Hawkman run with Robert Venditti didn't sell as well as we would have liked. I and the writers I work with can provide damn good comics, but it's up to publishers to sell them, not creators. And here I think we were let down. Well, see, again, you're working on the old model, Brian. In the 80s and the 90s, maybe that was true. It was up to the publisher to do it. Now, in the days of social media today, no, it is completely, if not completely, at least majorly, on the creator to promote it. It is up to you. It is up to you to promote it and to sell it. You have to get out there and reach the people. You have the ability, and you have, whether you like it or not, you have the obligation. Again, this is key in this crowdfunding success of the people I've shown you here. And people like Brian Hitch are ignorant of this. They are still working on the old model from like the 80s. This is how it was 30, 40 years ago. That's not how it is now. He feels they were let down. Well, the only one let you down was you by thinking this way. And this is the mindset that any creator who's going to enter crowdfunding, you better drop this type of thinking right here, or you're going to lose big time. And then here's one I have, and I saved this one because this to me was like the best understanding post I've ever seen of why you're seeing so many creators, if not doing crowdfunding, at least thinking about crowdfunding. And I'm going to read this to you because I thought this is just so perfect. This is Liam Sharp. I've loved his work. I've read it for decades. He goes, "It's kind of mad, but understandable. We all got obsessed with the notion of IP and selling something we created to an even bigger entertainment industry for a large amount of money. The reason is simple enough. Making comics is a marathon you'll run your whole working life, and most people don't make a great deal of money doing it. Even when the page rates are okay, and for most of us they are not, it's the times between jobs that kill us. When there's no certainty you'll ever get a decent, visible job again, and anything you might have saved on a, say, 12-issue run vanishes on rent, food, bills, and living and general living in a matter of a month or three, leaving you back where you started, scrambling for another shot on something viable. And yes, that's exactly this right here. This is the tale of the freelancer. This is how it is for them. And, again, historically it was this way because they were beholden to the publishers. But they don't have that now. You have crowdfunding. You can do it yourself. But again, you have to engage, you have to be respectful of, and you have to communicate with the audience. And if you don't do those things, you're going to fail. And this to me is again, this is a part of the mentality of the old guard. This is the way it used to be, but it's not that way now. But you need to change your mindset. This is what needs to happen. Creators need to look at their mindsets and stop thinking like this and like the way Brian Hitch did, and think more in the terms of the ways guys like John Malin and Shane Davis are doing, because they are the ones who are showing you the way now. And you need to stop listening to people like Eric Larson and Ron Mars and Patrick Zurcher and Mark Brooks, who attack those people because they don't have your best interest at heart. They're worried, they're scared to death because they want these people to fail. They want crowdfunding to fail and die, because otherwise that means there's nothing for them. If this industry goes down for the final time, again, like I said, and it's coming, I don't foresee any way to avoid it. When it goes down and under for the third time, these guys are just done. They're going to have to go get a real job, working somewhere they hate probably. Why? Because they can't do crowdfunding. Who's going to back them? After all the insults and degradation they heaped upon the readers for years. It wasn't just one or two Twitter posts. It was years. Literal years of degradation and insults and defamation. And they're going to think that's just going to be washed under the bridge? Of course not. They know that. And that's why they hate the people who are successful at this now, because they are helping to usher out their way of doing things. So much so that, you got stuff like this now. Kelly Sue DeMoronic again. But I do think that the corporations that acquired comic publishers, I do think if the corporations that acquired comic publishers thought of us more as R&D than as IP packages, everyone would be better off. Everyone with the little asterisks next to it. And I like that she put them there, because when she says everyone, she doesn't mean everyone, because that's certainly not going to benefit, the publishers. That's not going to be of benefit to the retailers. It's definitely not going to be of benefit to the readers. The only one it benefits, the only ones who are quote unquote better off, are the hacktivists like Kelly Sue DeMoronic and her ilk, the Mark Brookses and the Ron Marses and the Patrick Zurchers. They're better off because they can continue on doing what they're doing now, just doing crap work that's either politically and ideologically driven agenda nonsense, or just crap work in general. And they can go online and attack the readership, and it doesn't matter. I can keep doing all that. Why? Because, well, there's no repercussions to me. And that's what it's all about for these people. They want no repercussions for what they have done. They have done this stuff for years to people. And now they're starting to see the chickens come home to roost, and they don't want to have to deal with that. And they're scared. And I can't say I blame them. If I were them, I'd probably be scared too. But, again, this is what they've brought on themselves. And I have no pity for them. And now this is something I found through another Twitter thread somebody did. And I guess they blocked out the person's name to protect them, I guess. I don't do that myself. Whenever I find stuff, I will tend to just use the person's name, because, if you want to put it out there publicly, then you should just, stick up by what you say. But this guy had a long thread. You can see here, I'm starting at point number 15, but he had all this other stuff. It was more personal to the creator he was talking to or whoever. But then he comes to this point, and I'm just going to read through all these, because I think it really illustrates a lot of what I've been talking about and why crowdfunding is working and why the mainstream is failing. He goes, despite your claims otherwise last night, things aren't just fine in the Western comics industry. That's why manga is kicking your collective asses. That's why you drag them and crowdfunding into your numbers to pump them up, because you know they aren't good. You can deny that reality all you want. You can attack those in the audience like me who pointed out and talk about it, but none of that is going to change it. and it isn't going to make us love your work or support it either. Those are the hard facts of things. The fans are supporting the things they love. That's why manga and crowdfunding has exploded in sales while your industry is bleeding them like a stuck pig. It's just that it's not you and the crap you I think they mean produce, the crap you produce that they love, which is your real wine in all this. How sad. It's not the fans who need to change, it's you in the industry who do. You need to relearn your place. It isn't about you or your political narratives or your personal issues. It's about the characters, the icons of this industry. It's about making us excited for them. The late, great Denny O'Neil put it best by saying that the icons will always matter way more than those who work on them. Those who do are the custodians of folklore. Remember that, folks? I even showed you that video myself. I showed you that on one of my past streams where Denny said that exact line. Many of you forgot that or don't care. You have been horrible stewards of what you were given. You want to hear the love and excitement fans used to have for the comics? You want them talking about how great they are? Then stop attacking them over politics. Stop insulting their criticisms. Stop making the work about you and not about the icons you are working on. Stop destroying those icons in the name of wokeness and diversity. Stop making them unrecognizable to the people who made them icons to begin with. Stop making your political narratives the focus of the work. Make true entertainment again, like those before you did. Do it, and you'll see the love from the fans again. You'll see them excited for your work. But you have to drop your ego and your political butthurt. You have to stop judging readers by your political views or theirs. We don't want scolding lectures from you, masked as entertainment. We don't care if you hate who's president. We don't care what social issues matter to you. We don't care what your political views are. We never have and we never will. We just want our comics to entertain us with adventure, drama, action, and pathos, like they used to. You want fans talking about comics they love? Then give them comics worth loving again, because what is being done now will never cut it. And as your industry continues to slide into the abyss, while manga and crowdfunding will continue to grow, you'll be left behind. That fate is avoidable, but you have to do the 3 things you obviously hate. Check your egos, because it's not about you. Write for the characters you work on, not yourselves. And respect the audience, no matter what politics they do or don't have. That's the answer. Or don't do any of that and enjoy your slide into oblivion. We'll be fine, as we'll just move on to other entertainment sources, as some have done already, once you are completely gone. The choice is yours. I thought this was sheer brilliance. And aside from the one point when he says if they were to reverse course and go back to making entertainment again, the fans will return. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that little facet. It's the one facet I don't quite agree with. I think the bridge has been burned too badly. I think there is no going back. I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe I would have said that was true. They could reverse course, but I think it's too far gone now. You can't reverse course. But everything they said here, though, is on the money. It's all about their egos. They don't care about the characters. They don't care about the audience. They don't care about the lore. They don't care about the history of the creation they're working on. None of that matters. Only their political narratives, or in some cases, just using it as a stepping stone to get into Hollywood. That's all they care about. They don't care about anything else. And if they have to destroy everything around them to do that, that's what they're going to do. And they're not going to stop. Again, you saw it. Mark Brooks told you, you're his enemy. This person who wrote this is his enemy. He sees this person as an enemy. This is a person he thinks is a bigot and a horrible person because they want entertainment to be entertainment and not political propaganda. They don't want to be lectured to. They want to be entertained. How dare they? This is what I'm talking about. And this is what the crowdfunding people understand. They understand this. They get what this person is talking about. And that's why they're being so successful with their crowdfunding efforts.